This is the Marshall Center Activity Report for January 2010. I'm Jason Tudor. Addressing countering narcotics trafficking, the Senior Executive Seminar ran January 20th through 28th with 91 participants from 61 countries. With the support of U.S. Africa Command and the U.S. European Command, the Center thoroughly presented this current and highly relevant security cooperation topic. Considering the intercontinental aspect of narcotics trafficking, several African representatives were invited. There were also representatives from Asia, Europe, North America, and South America. General William E. Kip Ward, AFRICOM commander, opened the seminar January 20th and offered his vision of the threat. During the seminar, participants discussed case studies and interacted with a wealth of guest speakers. The speakers presented briefings on counter-narcotics trafficking and its nexus with organized crime and terrorism from Mexico, Colombia, the Middle East, and Afghanistan. SES participants also visited the federal police at the Munich airport for a security demonstration. The inaugural issue of the Marshall Center's magazine Per Concordium will be released the first week of March. The magazine is devoted to security and defense issues in Europe and Eurasia and provides a forum for Marshall Center alumni and academics, as well as scholars with an interest in the field to discuss important regional security issues. The magazine will be available on the Marshall Center's public webpage as a downloadable PDF file. Also busy in January was the Partnership for Peace Consortium's Education Development Working Group. It pursued its assistance to the Azerbaijani Military College of the Armed Forces, supporting faculty and curriculum development, as well as national security and defense planning. Dr. Jim Kegel of the National Defense University and Jean Anderain, the NATO policy co-lead, visited Baku January 18th and 19th. They were accompanied by Drs. Tom Fedizin and Jim Cook of the Naval War College, as well as Dr. Mike Baranik of National Defense University. The Marshall Center conducted a 5-day workshop here for members of the government of Georgia January 25th through 29th. The 23 invited participants included 3 Marshall Center alumni, represented an interagency task force of staff planners from 12 ministries. Responding to a request from the Georgian government, the Marshall Center conducted this first in a series of workshops to build interagency capacity within the task force. Brigadier General Dr. Walter Feichtinger, Director of the Institute for Peace Support and Conflict Management from the National Defense Academy in Vienna, Austria, is the graduate of the month for January 2010. General Feichtinger attended the Senior Executive Seminar in 2008. In 2009, he took part in the Distinguished Alumni Conference called Envisioning the European Strategic Security Policy Environment of EUCOM in 2020 in Freising, Germany. The Partnership for Peace Consortium's Senior Advisory Council met in Zurich, Switzerland, January 26th through 27th. U.S. Deputy Director of the Marshall Center, Dr. James McDougall, chaired the event, while the Swiss Federal Department of Defense, Civil Protection and Sports organized it. The Council provides strategic direction to the consortium and includes permanent representatives from the Office of the Secretary of Defense, Policy, and the Swiss, German, and Austrian Ministries of Defense, as well as the NATO international staff. 22 participants from 18 countries attended the Combating Terrorism Language Program, which ran January 12th through February 10th. The CTLP is a 4-week intensive language program specifically designed to upgrade English language proficiency to allow counterterrorism practitioners to participate more effectively in the program on terrorism and security studies. News updates, a Twitter feed, and access to the Marshall Center videos are now available via a free iPhone application called GCMC Online, which launched February 9th. The app brings together access to the Center's news, alumni news, Twitter, and YouTube feeds. Users can also share Marshall Center information via email, Twitter, or text messaging. The app gives potential students, alumni, stakeholders, and the general public an opportunity to see the Marshall Center mission. The Center also plans to develop functionality for other mobile devices. January's distinguished visitors included James Townsend, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for European and NATO Policy, His Excellency Yargul Saikani and Saikan, Ambassador of Mongolia to Austria and Italy, Admiral Jacques Lannet, Inspector General of the French Forces, Dr. Sejan Gohel, Director for International Security, Asia-Pacific Foundation in London, Dr. Aitan Azani, Deputy Executive Director, International Institute for Counterterrorism, Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya, Israel, Sarah Chase, Advisor to ISAF Anti-Corruption Task Force, Dr. Barry Zuloff, Director, College for Advancement of National Intelligence, National Intelligence University in Washington, Bernard Leroy, Senior Interregional Legal Advisor, United Nations on Drug and Crime, Vienna, Austria, Jacques Ripon, Division Chief, Terrorism Investigations, Bern, Switzerland, Brigadier General Christopher Haas, Commander Special Operations Command Africa, U.S. Africa Command, and Ambassador J. Anthony Holmes, Deputy to the Commander for Civil Military Activities for U.S. Africa Command. Several Marshall Center staff members were published in January, including Dr. James Anderson, who had an op-ed entitled The Airstrike Option to Iran's Nuke Ambitions, published in Defense News January 17th. Dr. Cheryl Cross has been nominated to serve on the editorial board for the Professional Peer-Reviewed Journal of Strategic Security. U.S. Deputy Dean Rick Steinke and Dr. Dragan Laskanik took part in NATO's Partnerships, the Oberammergau Symposium, in a seminar entitled Future Tasks and Challenges of the Alliance and the Role of Partners in the Context of the New Strategic Concept, January 20th and 21st. Dr. Sabine Kolmer's essay Between Alliance and Homefront Considerations, the German Armed Forces and Security-Related Opinion Polls, was published in a collection of professional essays. That's the Marshall Center Activity Report for January 2010. For more, visit the Marshall Center on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube by connecting at our website, www.marshallcenter.org. I'm Jason Tudor.